It has been a long trek through the Underdark for our whimsical sorcerer, and now that we've made it to the Shadow-Cursed lands, things surely are living up to the name. But whether it be by sheer wild chance, our hero's ever-increasing magical prowess, or just their ability to seemingly even convince the wind to stop blowing, they'll do all they can to be the hero this place needs. All it will take is killing an immortal chosen of a god, fighting against our own magical whims, and of course, making new friends. Can Alakazam get it done? Well, we got one way to find out. On to the video. Shortly after our wayward hero sets out from Grimforge, Alakazam arrives in the second act of their journey, the Shadow-Cursed lands. With the help of the guiding light ring we picked up previously, we're able to cast the light cantrip to illuminate the way. And it illuminates our way right into a group of brand new friends who are clearly incredibly delighted to make our acquaintance, as you can tell from how they brandish their weapons. No doubt to show off how safe we'll be while traveling with them. Unfortunately, some magic surges out of the dark to kidnap one of them. I swear it wasn't Alec this time. To make matters worse, it also brings them back as undead and ambushes us with 6 whole shadows to boot, kicking off our first fight of the act. On Alec's turn, they launch the old tried and true magic missiles at one of the shady specters, injuring it and triggering their first surge of the act, letting us fly all the way up to this nice overlook behind our foes. Unfortunately, it becomes clear that our new pals are sorely outclassed as they're getting clobbered, well, not doing much clobbering in return. Back to us, and we do our best to split some missiles and hopefully take out 2 with one cast, but instead we wind up with 2 barely alive enemies, meaning we fly in and bash one of them with our offhand staff, the Morning Frost, thanks to a giant strength elixir. Now that Alec is in the thick of it, one of the Umbral undead goes after them to no avail, creating an opening for our ailing allies to finish off the one that we weren't able to. Once again, an upcasted magic missile low rolls its damage and fails to kill, so we quicken spell and split up the darts on our second cast, only for that to roll minimum damage, leaving one shadow at 1 HP. Our bad luck gets even worse as we lose our first friend, then we get crit, another friend gets got with a crit, and while our remaining pal does finish off a shadow, they're immediately replaced by an undead version of one of our friends. Thankfully, we're still kicking, so we cast a blur to make sure that doesn't happen again and top up our HP. Then we get a watch as our foes very quickly become ineffectual against us. With blur active, we're in a much safer spot, and things start to go way smoother as we're free to cast and bash our way through the undead horde. At least, things go smoother for Alec. This rather demonstrates why our hero prefers to travel alone. Friends never seem to last too long around them. Thankfully, we're at the point where neither do enemies. But maybe this time, if we can find where those people came from, we'll at least find a safe place to hang out. Sure enough, we find a place called the Last Light Inn that seems to be protected. They even have a rather stalwart protector in the form of Jaheira here, who does admittedly think that we're a cultist. So we compliment her on her vigilance to befriend her, and Maul from Act 1 shows up to tell her how cool Alec is, thankfully while leaving out the part where we stole from a bunch of druids. After this, we gain access to the grounds and swing by one of our new friends, Quartermaster Tally, who's kind enough to sell us the Cloak of Protection. This cool cloak will be our forever friend going forward, granting us a nice simple +1 to our AC and saving throws, a defensive boost that's really hard to beat. That's not all. Wandering the inn, we find a loose floorboard in one of the rooms with the Snowburst ring inside. This Bang & Band will replace Crusher's ring, making it so whenever we deal cold damage, we'll make a circle of ice at that spot for enemies to slip on, which goes wonderfully with our Morning Frost, and we'll have enemies slipping and sliding like no tomorrow. Once that's all done, we have a quick drink with the Jaheira and find that we just can't help but tell her the truth of our situation. We must really trust her. As we're palavering with our pal, she tells us all about General Ketheric Thorm, the leader of the baddies at Moonrise, who happens to be invincible. Jaheira has a plan though. We're to go to the towers and befriend everyone there to discover the secret of his immortality. Before we head off, we learn that some of our tiefling buddies have been imprisoned in Moonrise and we've got to save them. So Alakazam hits the road and stumbles across a rather peculiar looking buddy-to-be who explains to us that he's very worried for us since we don't have a shiny lantern to protect us like he does. A bit of convincing is all it takes and he proves a true friend by giving us his lantern, then we just have to talk him into heading into the dark. I'm sure they'll be fine. Alico is always told there's nothing in the dark to be afraid of. Don't worry about the screams. Turns out the lantern is being fueled by a living pixie, so naturally we set her free, and as a token in return she gives us immunity to the shadow curse. Now we're free to wander wherever we'd like, including going right down the road all the way to Moonrise Towers. Upon arriving, we find goblins in the midst of being tried for their incompetence. confidence. Ketheric Thorm doesn't seem too happy to be here. I'd imagine even more so after the goblins try to get him with the old 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good lord, what kind of magic surge is this? Oh, there you go. Alec's magic gets a little weird sometimes. And off he goes on his smoke break. In the meantime, we talk to his second in command to get all cozy with her, but well, from the way she kills her goon, I'm starting to think these guys live up to their evil reputation. Either way, that's all it takes for her to tell us about this super important relic in the Thorm family mausoleum and some dude named Balthazar who's gone looking for it. Before we deal with all that, we've got some prisoners to free though, starting by quietly using the loudest spell scroll we have to blow up these scrying eyes. Then we completely fail at shoving this guard over the railing despite the indicator, but somehow they die when we throw them at the railing. Well, I'm not one to look a gift guard in the mouth. A well-placed minor illusion and another strength elixir fueled shove is enough to continue the slaughter. And a moment later, we get level 6, granting us another spell in the form of Misty Step, mainly to get out of any binds that we didn't see coming beforehand, which are all the more likely with magic surges. We also get Bend Luck, letting us give a 1d4 bonus or penalty to pretty much any roll at the cost of 2 sorcery points. Admittedly, metamatics are kinda just a better use, so we won't use this often. Continuing on, we massacre the last scrying eye and get a hold person on the warden, letting us get a bunch of free crits on her before combat properly starts. Whereupon Alec finishes her off with a magic missile. From her corpse, we get the Spellcrux amulet, which we won't keep on, but it does let us restore 1 spell slot a day, meaning we can turn a spell slot into more sorc points and then immediately get it back. Then it's just a matter of bashing open the prison cells, stealing a conveniently placed boat right next to them, and sailing into the night towards Last Light Inn. Once we get there, our hero gets to bask in a job well done. No friends died this time, and we even get rewarded with the potent robe. This +1 AC clothing is a sight to behold, and not just because Alec rocks it well, it also gives temp HP equal to our charisma modifier at the start of each turn. And it increases all our cantrip damage equal to our charisma as well, meaning our Rays of Frost are more powerful than ever, and we barely even need to risk surges. Alec ain't done taking Moonrise for all it's worth though, so we head back and get looking around, only to open up a secret entrance in Balthazar's room, wherein we grab the Coldbrim hat. This wizardly wonder lets us apply 2 turns of Encrusted with Frost once per turn when we apply any other condition. If they have at least 1 stack of this, they have disadvantage on dex saves, and if they get 7, they'll take a bit of cold damage and have a chance to get frozen. Now at last, we're ready to hit the town and investigate what's going on, starting by running into our old friends who really were right to fear the dark. With our new and improved Ray of Frost though, they're way too busy slipping to fight back at first. When combat does start, it seems our magic has managed to turn our old arachnid friend invisible. Out of fear, Alec Misty steps away and gets the ability to fly once again as an extra treat. As the rounds go on, we learn just how good at kiting Alec has become, with Twin Spell Ray of Frost not only slowing but also creating ice. The enemies can barely move at all, letting us simply walk backwards and shoot and rinse and repeat turn after turn, doing a bunch of damage thanks to the vulnerability gained from our staff as well. Although it does help that these old friends of ours have forgotten how to jump and dash in their undeath. There is a few more spooky specters laying about town as well, but they're just about the same to clean up. Between all of our spells and superpowered cantrips, we're not worried at all, and they're out of the way soon enough. Next up, we explore the toll house and discover Gauring Thorm, who has an evident unhealthy obsession with gold, which because Alakazam is a responsible investor, we have none on us, meaning a fight kicks off. Immediately, our hero Misty steps to the roof and gets Ray of Frosting away, forcing all the violent visages to dash in an attempt to reach us. On our next turn, we take out the first of them, triggering a Bloodlust Elixir, allowing Alec to blast away with more twinned Frost Rays. To make things even more simple, with each skull we take out, Gary gets weaker herself, and while they eventually manage to slightly damage us, it's nothing we can't handle with a healing pot or 2. Once the last of them are dealt with, a magic missile is all we need to finish off the not-so-big lady. Having to use that healing potion reminds our sorcerer that we should probably get more of those, so off to the hospital we go. Upon getting there, we stumble across a kindly doctor in the midst of teaching some students. His patient, however, seems a little unwilling, so after After racking our brain for an idea, we suggest that maybe he should use a more willing subject. And the good doctor agrees with our genius idea, but we both may have overestimated the skill of his students. I'm sure he'll bounce back. After that fiasco, Alec has earned themselves a drink, especially since last time they had one, they ended up in a dungeon. Our bartender is a little intimidating, but it would be rude for us to turn down a free drink, so down the hatch it goes, and it's not actually that bad at all. Visibald, Alec's new bestie, asks us for a story next, and if there's anything Alec is good at, it's putting on a show. From here, it is a good night, a proper party. We drink and then tell stories about our journeys and then drink some more. At some point, Alec's bosom buddy says something about the source of Getherick's immortality being a woman buried in the tomb, but that's a later problem because our pal is having stomach issues and oh my god. Man, it is hard to make friends in the Shadow-Cursed lands. Well, nothing better to do but head to the mausoleum then, and look who we should find along the way but Raphael. Turns out he was so worried about us that he decided to swing by and check in and make sure we know what's awaiting us below. He lets us know that there's someone of the same persuasion as him down there, which Alec is pretty sure means that we're about to get another friend. So now we eagerly step inside the mausoleum, find some fun little buttons to press that eventually open up a secret door leading to a very well hidden Sharon Gauntlet. We do have to navigate through some invisible walls to press another button, but a little bit of magic never stopped Alec before. This lets us further inside where we bump into a cloaker waiting to ambush us, but that really doesn't go well for it, and before you know it, it gets a taste of its own medicine. In the next room over, we find a gaggle of rather talkative skeletons who, as it turns out, are being controlled by Bout. Before we can really talk it out, our magic surges, alerting the enemies to where we are, and undead Sharons come pouring out the wazoo. Balthi's door seems to be stuck, so we misty step over and oil up his hinges with a knock scroll so our new buddy doesn't miss out on all the fun. The necromancer hops into action lickety-split, showing the enemies what for, but the portals they're pouring out of simply do not stop spewing them out. To make matters even worse, the portals themselves keep spawning too, meaning it is all-out war, hordes of undead swinging at hordes of undead, and no real end in sight. Especially since Getherick's bestie insists on using his legendary action, which heals all undead that end their turns in it, friend or foe. By the time things have settled down and no more spawners are spawning, the initiative order has seen better days. Balthazar's more or less out of spell slots, and the Sharons are focus firing his fraternal flesh golem. For now, this is definitely above our pay grade, so we let the two sides continue to duke it out until flesh is down for the count for good, and suddenly the enemies remember Alec exists. Not wanting to be cornered, we use a dimension door scroll plus a misty step to get as far away as we possibly can. The small battalion we leave behind tries to turn our frenemy into a pincushion, and we're just left kiting the big head honcho Sharon, who has a rather interesting way of dealing with our ice. Sooner than later, our momentary mate gets blasted to the great beyond, and the cameraman is kind enough to spare us the gory details. We're left kiting the few remaining enemies who actually chased us through the rest of the gauntlet, and eventually we get them too. Of course, we're not one to leave a job half done, so we double back to as I was saying, okay, can we just, please, for the love of, okay, there we go. We double back to go clean up the rest. The stragglers are nice and easy to pick off by their lonesome, and once they're out of the way, it's a fireball-fueled party for the clumped-up group distracted by a Sharon statue. While making sure we don't get surrounded by the survivors, Alec does become a parent to a mephit, but they're way too young to raise it, so they send it back to whatever elemental plane it came from. Just a few rounds later and a whole bunch of frost rays is all it takes to finally clean up that disaster of a fight, which gives us level 7, granting access to 4th level spells and our spell of choice, Ice Storm. A little bit more area damage doesn't go amiss with this build, especially area damage that works with our cold themed build and can make a whole lot of ice for enemies to slip on. Continuing on through the gauntlet, we find ourselves told by Shar to run through her series of trials, and it's probably a good idea to not disobey a god too much in her own temple. Thus, we we find ourselves in the soft step trial. All we need to do for this one is avoid some patrolling guards, lockpick a door at the end, and grab ourselves our first umbral gem. Exactly what we need to get to the bottom of this place, figuratively and literally. Trial number 2 is the self-same trial. The gist of this one has us beating up our clone, but for some reason the clone kinda sucks. It can't even hit a single attack. Is Shar trying to say something about Alec? No, couldn't be. Either way, their lackadaisical aiming means that this trial is another easy win, and umbral gem number 2 is ours for the taking. The third and final trial on our list is the Faith Leap trial. All we need to do is step onto this invisible pathway, then jump from platform to platform, touch back down on the pathway, and then jump over to the end where umbral gem 3 awaits. Problem is, we need a 4th gem, so we get looking around only to, ooh, a kitty cat, let's go see if it wants to play with us. And it leads us directly into an ambush from someone of an infernal persuasion. Hold up, this must be the new friend Raphael told us about. He tells us that unfortunately he's stuck here until he sees his contract through, which he kindly sings to us in a nice little show telling us that he needs to kill all the justiciars. Problem is, they're all dead already and he's still here, but any cat-owning friend of Rafi's is a friend of ours, so we convince him to let us help him in his noble quest. Off we go looking in every nook and cranny of this place, even downing an elixir of peerless focus to stave off sleep and keep us on track. When we stumble across a rat, it all suddenly clicks for our hero. Shar recruited the rats to be Dark Justiciars since no one else could make it into the temple. Alec's suspicions are confirmed when we kill one of them and the rest come swarming out of nowhere as if guided by divine hand. Not wanting to get nibbled to death, we wedge ourselves in a corner and use a cloud of dagger scroll to block off their path to us, leading to the world's biggest rat smoothie as they all one by one go charging into their deaths with no hesitation whatsoever. There's even some that upon death try and emit sleepy smoke, but conveniently enough that elixir we drank earlier makes us immune. What are the odds? As the last of the rats run face first to their doom, one more rat does apparate out of nowhere, but also inside of our cloud of daggers, so they immediately die. He even has a whole set of Justiciar gear on him, proving Alec's massacre was not for nothing, and Shar's standards really did fall so low that she was recruiting rodents. Yurgir, our new friend, is naturally overjoyed when he hears the good news. Raphael even comes to celebrate with the gang. Unfortunately, it seems like the real party is happening elsewhere as they both disappear a moment later, leaving behind umbral gem number 4 for us to take. Now that we have all we need to open up the depths of this place, we figure we should probably do everything else we need to first before we ruin Kethric's opinion of us forever. Starting by praying to Shar to give us necrotic resistance for a day to help us beat up her cronies, then we blow some of them up, entangle ourselves with others and almost get ourselves killed, clean up the local gardens, put down some very bad dogs, clear out the local inn's rather peculiar rodent infestation, and do an absolute buttload of shopping and sleeping and shopping and sleeping and shopping and maybe a bit more sleeping to load up on supplies for what's to come. After all that, we descend to the bottom of the Gauntlet and pop open the magic door there using the gems we've gathered, only to find a pool of magical energy swirling there that upon stepping into surges with power more than Alec ever could, dragging us into its depths. And our hero awakes in a grand prison in the Shadowfell, holding a lone figure at the bottom. I'm starting to think we should have paid attention to what Thizabald said. When we meet the Night Song at the bottom, she greets us by saying this:
"Free me, and I will forgive your transgressions."
Given the amount of transgressions we're aware of, and the no doubt many more we're not aware of, we decided that's a pretty good deal. So it is that the Night Song is no more, and the divine Dame Aelin joins our side as our newest bestie. Although she seems more interested in killing Kethric than getting to know each other. By the time we get to the towers, she's put in good work and killed everyone outside already, leaving just the folks inside, but we've got Jaheira and all 4 of the Harpers to help us out. After a rallying speech, we step inside and the start of our raid kicks off. To start things off, we use a frost ray which gets counterspelled into a quickened ice storm to soften everyone up and make it harder for them to reach us. Our archer allies fire away in order to tickle the enemies. Jaheira reveals to the gang that she was a cat girl the whole time. The melee folks do what the archers couldn't, and the enemies do their best rendition of Alec on an ice rink, with the exception of Zarel, who just kinda stands there. From here, we really start to get into the swing of things. Alec blasts folks with frost rays and saunters backwards. The enemies use their AoE spells to get all the good guys, while Jaheira jumps into the midst of everyone, whereupon she promptly gets smote 15 million times, yet somehow survives. Seeing how much fun she's having, the Harpers make Alec look like a genius by rushing in to join her. Since the baddies have their pick of the litter, they finish off the legendary druidic defender and start working away at everyone else too. Though we do get our own picks in here and there between our side getting slaughtered. But soon enough, they get the last of the Harpers, and all without Zarel moving a single inch. Well, except for Quartermaster Tally, who joins the fight a bit late. Unfortunately, not even the world's most alright by Jaheira woman is up to the task. Now that we're outside though, we can hide up in the scaffolding and rain down spells on our enemies. They can't really do anything to us while we're up here, so the fight is mostly free. In fact, a lot of our enemies just run and get stuck against this wall instead. There is the odd lucky hit from our fearsome foes, but with the temp HP we get at the start of each turn from our robe, there's nothing to worry about. Once we've picked off everyone we can from the scaffolding, we simply misty step back down to take out the 2 remaining goons. And after bludgeoning the last one to death, Zarel de-aggroes since she still hasn't moved anywhere. When we get back in the fight with her, she brings backup with her to make things a little tougher, one of whom even frightens us, but it's nothing a misty step can't get us out of. A few rounds of kiting them further and further backwards alongside Ray of Frost spam is all it takes to finish them off once the frighten goes away. Zarel herself is catatonic and just needs a little bit of putting down for us to finish, letting us at last reach level 8, granting another level 4 spell slot alongside blindness just in case we feel like blinding someone who's being a bit annoying. And more importantly, we get another feat in the form of an ability improvement to finally get our charisma up to a nice 20. Now that we're level 8, Sister Lidwin at the hospital stocks up on the good healing potions, which we definitely are gonna need. So we take another week's worth of naps to load up on more than we'll hopefully ever use up. Then we head to the center of town and find some funny plaques to play around with that upon hitting the north, west, and finally east ones opens up a secret passageway. In this hidden sanctum, there's 3 statues that have us each make a mental saving throw, and upon succeeding they give a +5 to the same stat till our next long rest. As a way to say thanks, we head back to the Shar and Gauntlet and pray to Shar, which also gives us necrotic resistance till our next rest once more. All that aside, we were doing something. What was I talking about? Oh, right, raiding Moonrise Towers. Jeez, I sure hope Dame Aelin doesn't mind the wait. Alec does still have to make their way past Rhodesia, who doesn't much care for them, but she's not particularly challenging since our frost rays are hitting like an absolute truck now. Alongside our staff for that matter, but for those of you interested, here's a brief breakdown of that ray of frost. During our prep for Ketheric, we cast Mage Armor, turn into a sheep, equip Melf's first staff instead of the Spell Sparkler, use the Spell Slot Amulet to restore our missing 4th level slot, cast Protection from Evil and Good, get a little blurry by accident, light up the place, and head on to the roof at last, where Aelin has been smacking Necromites for the past week. Big Papa K ain't too happy with the fact that we've bumbled our way into making him mortal again. But regardless of his past misdeeds, we believe he too has the makings of a buddy, so we offer him a chance to surrender. It takes a bit more convincing, but Alec has a knack for making friends, and we get it done. Ketheric surrenders peacefully. Just kidding, Aelin's a little bloodlusted after a week straight of fighting, so off we go to the races as our showdown begins. Starting off, we drop not just 1, but 2 ice storms on as many enemies as we can manage with the quicken spell, causing Susdera the Necromancer to slip instead of doing anything, while Ketheric's dog gets opportunity attacked by our angelic ally, who makes a moonbeam on herself and gets wailing on the big man, with his necromites wailing on her in return. Next round, we finish off the prone Necromancer and use a potion of flying to get up onto the rafters. With a couple big bashes from Ketheric himself and a bite from his 1 HP dog, Aelin is brought down for the first time, but don't you worry, it won't be the last. Since we're up on the rafters and our protection from evil and good gives them disadvantage, our enemies are having a real tough time doing anything to Alec, and if if they even get close, we've got a shield spell just waiting for them, allowing us to simply quicken spell out a few Ray of Frost on our almost ally to send him reeling backwards. Our real ally gets up again, ready to finish the job so we can move on to the big city and... never mind, a big old tentacle got her. God, I hate when that happens. To make matters worse, the undead conqueror takes her unconscious body and teleports somewhere, leaving us behind to clean up the remains of these walking remains, which, let's be real, are not at all threatening to us. After which we find our way over to the big old hole the tentacle came out of and jump inside, landing Alec right in the middle of an illithid colony. Not the strangest hole Alec has found themselves in. In fact, it's not that bad at all. It has loads of intellect devourers wandering around with tons of XP to make this a real party. Unfortunately, it does have a room full of undead, which kinda kills the vibes, but an invis potion lets us explore the other side anyways, where Alec finds a machine with all sorts of pretty lights. There's few things our hero likes more than pretty lights, so they spend a bit of time here fiddling about only for it to open a door at the back of the room, letting us pick up a brain in a jar. In the same room, we find a little doohickey to plug it in, and the brain asks us to essentially kill them to put them out of their misery in exchange for a technique. Being just the most useless part of a person seems pretty rough, so Alec obliges and we get the Githzerai Mind Barrier, a permanent buff that grants us advantage on all intelligence saving throws going forward. God knows we need it. With all that done, we get ready to face Ketheric once and for all. First, we summon Scratch, a water elemental, and a couple of ice methods with scrolls to help us out. Then, we turn our level 1 and 2 spell slots into sorcery points, down a potion of angelic reprieve to gain the benefits of a short rest, giving them back, do that for a little while, and then turn these sorcery points into level 4 spell slots. Rinse and repeat that whole process until we've got 10 level 4 spell slots and 69 sorcery points. Nice. With another cast of protection from evil and good, we're ready to face our final confrontation in the Shadow Curse lands. When we enter the room though, we know it'd be rude to interrupt as Ketheric is talking to his two companions, Gortash and Orin, who will no doubt face down the line. For now though, we learn they have control of the Absolute, who is secretly an Elderbrain, with the power of some really shiny rocks, and one thing alone crosses Alec's mind. They need to have those shiny rocks for their collection. Oh, and they should probably save the world or something. The baddies say some other stuff that's no doubt unimportant before teleporting out, leaving Ketheric by his lonesome. Now that they're gone, we use a flying potion on ourselves and Scratch, then an invis potion on the whole gang before we mobilize. The Mephits and Alec all fly up next to this Mind Flayer, Scratch gets ready to free Dame Aelin ASAP, and the water elemental gets ready to teleport from the ground level. Once we're all in position, Alec starts things off with the tried and true Ray of Frost for a surprise round. Surprised or not though, Ketheric is always ready to hit us with a Yap attack. But this time we've got one ready in return. We let him know it's not too late to be our bestie, we've had weirder friends. Unfortunately, the idea is so revolting to him that he plunges himself into this big old pit and turns into an avatar of a god of death instead, which unfortunately is not the first time this has happened to Alec either. Just like that, we're back in the fight. First things first, our water elemental teleports and one-shots the Mind Flayer. Scratch frees Dame Aelin to make the Apostle of Merkel vulnerable, we down a speedbot and fire off a Frost Ray only to trigger the big fella's legendary action, hitting us in return for 5 necrotic damage. Our Mephits get in on the fun too, and Aelin even does a little love tap. Next round, we start up the strategy we'll use for the whole fight. We use a Darkness Arrow to blind Merkel, our second action to deal a bit of damage, usually with spells, but in this case we tried to lower his AC with an Acid Arrow, not that it worked, and we quicken out another spell as well with our bonus action. The summons really do the best they can, which isn't much. Merkel just wails on our good friend for this turn, and his goons finish her off. Still, the fight goes on, and we keep blasting away as much as we can, making sure to refresh our speed potions whenever they're about to run out. Now we see the enemy's routine as Merkel spends his entire turn just doing a map-wide AoE pull that damages even his own goons. With the help of a Heroism Elixir and the Club of Hill Giant Strength, we're really good at saving on this though, so we don't have much to worry about. about. All we really need to do is refresh the darkness arrows whenever they run out, our speed potions as well, and keep our hit points topped up with the many potions we've bought, all while sneaking in the odd hit here and there. The big man does keep summoning enemies, but he also tends to kill them pretty quickly, so they're nothing to be concerned about. Once he's low enough health, he starts snacking on the few survivors that manage to make it to him, healing himself and giving access to Finger of Death, which he could use were he not blinded. To prevent the healing, we just use a Bone Chill on the turns where he might snack on a guy. Since we have so many resources and consumables to juggle, it is very slow going with the damage, especially since I was saving the higher level spell slots in case things got dire. But patience is a virtue, and eventually Alex's wonderful ability to keep track of all these many things is enough to take out a friend that could have been. Also, Aelin was here. Oh my goodness, almost forgot. We did make a new friend. Alongside that good news to brighten our day, we grab that shiny gem to literally brighten our day, reunite the death-defying dame with her girlfriend, and gleefully accept their offer to join us in our camp during the trip to Baldur's Gate. A trip that promises to be more dangerous than anything else our haywire hero has come across so far, and after having defeated a god of death, that's saying something. Who knows what wild happenstance awaits. Thanks so much for watching, folks. I'm having a blast with these Sorcerer videos, so stay tuned for more and tune in live every Sunday and Monday right here on this channel to see whatever I'm working on next. As always, a special thanks to our Storyteller tier members Oka and Can, Mark Rainbow, Rat King, Vivian, Lumina, Beltfed Joe, Chance Hine, El Guardia, Ramon Standalone, Witch Amy, and Jesse Kate.